Hello there, this is Elena with your new moon in Aquarius lunation forecast. This new moon is going to be happening on February 1st, 2022. Thank you for supporting me at this tier to receive both these forecasts and the weekly forecasts. I hope that both of them together give you some more information for planning your week and just for understanding the events coming up this week. So let's just go ahead and roll the dice. If you've never seen astro-dice before, you've got this one that has the sun, the moon, all of the planets in the north and south nodes of the moon. This has all of the signs of the zodiac, and this has the numbers 1 through 12 to represent all 12 houses of an astrological chart. So I'm going to give these a roll, and then we'll see what placement it gives us. And, see what that can tell us about this new moon this week, which I'm very curious to see how this turns out. We've got, it's going to be conjunct Saturn. It's going to be square Uranus. I think it'll be a really good new moon. Definitely, as I was saying in my weekly, that it'll be a good opportunity for kind of another new year, if that's something that you're looking for, another new start. Especially with Saturn conjunct it. This is really a good time to be starting something new that you want to work out long term. Okay, so, all right, dice. That said, what's something you can give us to reflect on this week for this new moon? Interesting. A lot of nodes today. Okay, so we've got the South Node in Pisces in the 5th house. So this is very interesting. So I'll just mention, if you watched my weekly forecast for this week, I did roll a Virgo rising chart, where you had North Node in Virgo in the 1st, which did give you South Node in Pisces. And so we've got the South Node in Pisces here again in the 5th house, which is really interesting to me. So I think that this is definitely just kind of tapping more into that energy, but from a different perspective. So I'm just going to talk, I guess, a little bit more about that Virgo, Pisces, North Node, South Node axis. Theory and praxis type stuff. Ideals and how you live them. And so we're looking at like South Node in Pisces in the 5th here. This is going to be about going back to, I like this, honestly. There are a lot of people who have kind of more fatalistic or negative interpretations of the South Node. And I'm not saying it's all rainbows and sunshine. It can definitely be kind of like a hole in the bottom of a bucket, but it can also be going back to roots and to origins and to those seeds that were planted a really long time ago that have been, that have stayed dormant or that have been kind of chilled, right? Let me move this a little bit so you can see the South Node better. So the South Node in Pisces in the 5th, and we've got Jupiter transiting Pisces now. We've had Neptune in Pisces for quite a while. Neptune, I think, transiting through Pisces for so long, and now having Jupiter back in Pisces, I think is helping us make more of these dreams reality. I think that it's helping us to actually find the support and find the resources and the things that we need to make a more realizable version of these dreams and of these ideals possible. So South Node in Pisces in the 5th, you're looking at going back to, this is literally just going back to your old fantasies. The 5th house, you speak about creativity, joy, art, sex, romance. It's the house where Venus rejoices traditionally, the house of good fortune. So South Node in Pisces in the 5th is, there's value, I think Jupiter is saying here, there's value in going back to those old pleasures and to those old dreams that you had and seeing what does still excite you. This is pretty similar, honestly, to what I was thinking of for the weekly, but I think this is particularly going back and looking at things that gave you pleasure. I think this is also really relevant right now with the nodes being in Taurus and Scorpio. I know a lot of people, since, the North Node is currently in a Venus-ruled sign, a lot of people have been going back and thinking about old music that they were listening to at that time. And, we're looking at those aesthetic choices and aesthetic themes coming back up again. The last time that we had the North Node in Taurus was 2003-ish. And then I believe that we previously had the nodes transiting those signs as well during 67, 68. So you can see, a lot of that late 60s, early 70s aesthetic is coming back around now again. Astrology is another thing, right? And so this is North Node, South Node stuff. So, but yeah, I think South Node and Pisces in the 5th, get playful this week. I think that this is kind of this could be like an inner child healing thing, seeing what dreams your inner child had, and what they wanted the world to be. I think Pisces is really the dreamer, And so, yeah, what dreams maybe did you have as a child that you can now as an adult realize for yourself? You may not be able to, actually have a pony, but, maybe you could go out on a horse ride, for example. If you wanted to have cake for breakfast, maybe this is the week to have cake for breakfast. But I think that there's something here about dipping, because I think about the South Node also as dipping up stuff from underneath and stirring up that silt at the bottom. Seeing what has maybe been kind of sitting at the bottom of your well a little bit creatively and stirring that back up. Jupiter is willing to get in there and to dip into that water and to see what's there. So, so as this relates to the new moon, so you've got the new moon that's going to be conjunct Saturn, square Uranus. The Saturn-Uranus square has been about pushing back on authority, and just relations with, I think, kind of authority with a capital A and then the people with a capital P, which can also then be transposed onto the parent and the child, really. So, there can be, I certainly have been feeling more of a spirit of kind of rebellion and pushing back with all of these Saturn-Uranus squares. And so this can, this really can be finding something, I think, healing in, with that Saturn-Uranus square, with the new moon being conjunct its ruler. I think this is an opportunity to really push off structures that are not serving you anymore, to, be Uranus pushing back, and really just sinking into pleasure. There's a reason that pleasure and, this is why things like universal basic income, for example, the idea that people could have their basic needs met, and then commit the crime of lounging around and relaxing and, not orienting their life around work and labor is a very dangerous thing. And so, I think that we've seen that playing into the recent labor movements that we've been having such a wonderful upswell, of unionization and of just pro-labor, public sentiment, I think, over the last year. So, building new structures for pleasures to hold and maybe nourish things that maybe you'd kind of left out for a while. Things that had been kind of sitting at the bottom of the pond, maybe, treasures coming up from the bottom of the ocean is also a thing that I think about here. Yeah. So, I think it'll be a good reset week. I think it'll really be a week to just kind of get in touch with ourselves and what we really need in our lives, and reminding us that pleasure is vital and is important. And it's something that you're always going to need in order to make life, right? Yeah. So, hopefully you can use this new moon energy to, again, create those new structures, to create new routines that push back perhaps on that Saturnian commitment a little bit, and making kind of commitments to pleasure, I guess. It's not always commitments to, I think people think about starting new habits as it's always got to be starting something hard. or starting something that like you don't want to do, but that you know that you have to do. But like, what about using this week as a week to set up a fun habit? Something where you intentionally schedule in pleasure into your day, into your week. Saying like, I am going to, play 30 minutes of video games a day or something like that. Or I am going to turn my phone off all of Saturday so that nobody can call me. Setting positive things and being like, what, as much as I need to commit to the difficult things in life that do need to be done every day, I also need to commit to putting pleasure into my life as well. And that's just as important, and it feeds you. And I'm not even going to say that, it feeds you so that you can do other work. It feeds you, period. So yeah, try scheduling in, I guess, some fun this week and try making that part of your habits. Make sure that you, especially if you're a person who can have trouble treating yourself to things, maybe see if okay, well, I'm going to schedule in that I'm going to have, a piece of chocolate every night after dinner. Whatever it is that you need, but commit to your own happiness, I think, is a good message for this week. So hopefully you find that helpful. I wish everybody a good new moon, a good week, and I will see you back for the next lunation forecast in a couple of weeks. So take care until then.